In my past life I was a princess, yet I was trapped in a cage. My heart, given to a celebrated hero, was repaid with betrayal. My closest friend, my confidant, watched as I was stripped of everything, my title, my honor, my life. I died alone in the cold with nothing but a single regret. I should have seen the truth sooner. But fate granted me a miracle. A second chance. This time I will not be a pawn. This time I will not be a victim. I will take back what was stolen from me, and I will choose a different path. A path not with the man the world adores, but with the notorious rogue who in the shadows showed me true devotion. This is the story of a princess reborn, a notorious rake, and a revenge that will change the fate of an empire. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments which country you're watching from. And if this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe. Enjoy listening. I was the orphan girl raised by the Grand Empress Seraphina. My father was the illustrious Prince of Eldoria, a younger brother of the late emperor who died young on the battlefield. I was his posthumous child. My mother, the Princess of Eldoria, passed away soon after giving birth to me, grief-stricken beyond recovery. Pitying my loneliness, the Grand Empress Seraphina took me into the palace and raised me as her own daughter. My name is Lisa. In my previous life, Sir Julian traded his military achievements to make me his wife, promising never to take a concubine. Yet, after the Grand Empress Seraphina passed away, he brought his first love, Clara, into the palace and demoted me to a concubine. Lisa, Clara loves me deeply. I cannot wrong her by making her a concubine, he told me. Later, he and Clara had a pair of children, living a life of complete happiness, while I was falsely reported as a madwoman and secretly locked away in a shadowed wing of the mansion, never to see a proper end. Reborn, I acted before Julian could request a marriage decree, and had the Grand Empress Seraphina grant me a marriage to his notoriously rakish elder brother. When I came of age, the Grand Empress Seraphina presented several sons of noble families for my consideration. Among them was her favorite candidate, Julian, the second son of the famous General Zenon. He distinguished himself in the Northern Frontier Campaign. When the army returns, your imperial brother will reward him. A young hero, handsome and well-bred. I think he is suitable. What say you, Lisa? She asked. The Grand Empress Seraphina handed me Julian's portrait as she had in my previous life, seeking my opinion. But I didn't even glance at it, turning my head away. I had seen Julian's face enough in my past life. This time I would not soil my eyes with it again. I would never marry him. I would secure a match before he could petition for a decree. And I had already chosen the groom, Julian's elder brother Damien. While the Grand Empress Seraphina selected potential husbands for me, I spoke my mind. Mother, I have someone in my heart, I said. Her expression shifted to surprise. What? Which family's son? How is it I have never heard of him? She asked. He is the eldest son of General Zenon, Damien, I replied. At first, the Grand Empress Seraphina could not recall him, but a few whispered words from her attendant Mammy jogged her memory, and then her anger flared. Nonsense! That is a spoiled, unworthy second-generation son, not fit for you, she exclaimed. To the world, Damien was indeed notorious. A notorious playboy compared to his illustrious general father and the younger brother who excelled in his youth. He seemed far inferior. The Grand Empress Seraphina had no daughters of her own and cherished me as if I were hers. She wanted nothing less than the finest match in all the realm. Naturally, my declaration of affection for a rakish son of a noble family could not please her. But she did not know that in my past life, it was precisely this unworthy man who had stood up for me when Julian and Clara tormented me. He had defended me and even carried my body out of that dark room to bury me beneath the peach tree I loved most. This life, if I were to choose a husband, it had to be him. Moreover, we shared a common enemy. Mother, the rumors outside may not be true, I said, clasping Grand Empress Seraphina's arm and displaying the gentle demeanor of a little daughter. Her anger softened at my display of affection. Oh, do tell me then, she said, curious. I recounted an incident from years ago when I had gotten into danger in the palace. I had been playful and slipped away from my attendant, wandering near the abandoned palace. There, I stumbled upon a young man and a palace maid sharing a meal, an act punishable by death. When they were discovered, they panicked and sought to kill me. That day, I had also disguised myself in a maid's attire, which emboldened them. Just as I thought I would die, someone dashed in, grabbed me and ran. After turning several corners, nearly breathless, he finally stopped and shoved me into a narrow wall crevice. "Stay quiet. I'll draw them away," he said and ran off. By nightfall my attendants found me and I was saved. Grand Empress Seraphina knew of this and had punished the guilty severely, as well as those who neglected me. "You mean the one who saved you was General Xenon's eldest son?" Before I could finish, she gasped. I nodded. In my previous life, Grand Empress Seraphina had searched the entire palace but never found him. He had appeared and disappeared as if from nowhere. Only when I married into the Xenon household and noticed a red mole behind Damien's ear did I realize that he had been my savior. Misfortune had made me his sister-in-law instead. This life, with his life-saving favor, it was easier to petition Grand Empress Seraphina for a marriage decree. "Mother, he risked his life to save me, and I was just a lowly palace maid in disguise," I said. "A man like him must have a pure heart and cannot be as cruel as the rumors suggest. Besides, I secretly investigated. He has done nothing truly wrong. His reputation as a rake has been deliberately spread by others," I added. "Oh, is that so?" Grand Empress Seraphina squinted thoughtfully. Then recognition dawned. Damien's father's first wife died years ago. I remember her, gentle and virtuous. "Damien is her son, is he not?" she asked. "Mother, you recall correctly," I said, my small deception fulfilled. Mammy explained Julian's lineage in full. Julian and Damien did not share the same mother. Damien was born of General Xenon's first wife, a legitimate eldest son. However, shortly after his birth, the general returned from the battlefield with a heavily pregnant woman of lowly birth whom he had rescued on the frontier. Daily closeness led to her pregnancy, and the general intended to raise her as a concubine. Damien's mother, weakened by childbirth and the shock of this event, passed away soon after. The concubine was elevated, and the illegitimate son Julian assumed the status of the eldest. Coupled with Julian's military achievements and Damien's notorious reputation, few remembered the true origins of Julian's mother. Beneath the glittering exterior of the Xenon household lay schemes, scandals, and covert maneuvers. But for Grand Empress Seraphina, who was well versed in palace intrigues, such tactics of concubine ascension and legitimacy manipulation were hardly unfamiliar. Understanding the full picture, she lowered her gaze and murmured, "Let me think this over." She waved her hand, signaling that she was done. I respectfully withdrew, knowing in my heart that half the task was already accomplished. Not long after, I saw Mammy sending a little eunuch out of the palace and guessed correctly that it was to clarify matters concerning General Xenon's residence. The arranged marriage was now almost certain, about 80 or 90% settled. Next, I had to ensure Julian and Clara's union before his return. In my previous life, Julian had followed the second prince, using me to leverage Grand Empress Seraphina's favor. Once his major goal was achieved, he discarded me like a worn-out shoe. This time, knowing their mutual affection, I intended to see them fulfilled. It would be my grand gift for his triumphant return. A few days later, Clara entered the palace, as she had in my past life, persuading Grand Empress Seraphina to make an offering at the 10,000 Buddha temple. "Your Majesty, I've heard that many soldiers perished during the army's victorious return," she said. "Perhaps we could hold a scripture reading ceremony at the 10,000 Buddha temple to comfort their spirits and pray for the peace of our realm." Clara was the legitimate daughter of the Minister of War. Her aunt was the favored imperial consort and mother of the second prince. In my previous life, the consort often summoned Clara to the palace to accompany Grand Empress Seraphina in worship, all the while encouraging her to befriend me and whisper praises of Julian into my ear, ensuring I would remain devoted to him. Only after a lifetime did I understand how thoroughly they had colluded. Laughably, I had mistaken wolves for family, and it had cost me my life. Clara's suggestion was merely paving the way for Julian. When the army returned, he would secretly enter the city ahead of schedule and meet me privately at the temple to seal our lifelong bond. But this time I intended for them to reap their own consequences. "Mother, Clara's suggestion is wise," I said. In a few days, when the army returns, holding a scripture reading ceremony to honor the fallen soldiers would both comfort the bereaved families and demonstrate our royal compassion, winning the hearts of the people. Well said, you children are thoughtful indeed, Grand Empress Serafina praised, naturally delighted by the proposal, for she was devoutly Buddhist. Soon, preparations for the ceremony were complete. Grand Empress Serafina brought Clara and me to the temple to observe a period of fasting and devotion. Upon entering the temple's rear courtyard, Clara first sent the attendants away, then pretended to forget something in the carriage, claiming she had to retrieve it, leaving me alone in the annex. I knew perfectly well what she was doing, but I did not expose her, allowing her plan to unfold. Sure enough, shortly after she left, Julian appeared in the room. "Lisa, I've missed you so much," he said, sweeping me into his arms. I stifled my distaste, refusing to pull away, though my face showed annoyance. "You've gone mad. Entering the city ahead of the army is high treason," I scolded. "Are you worried about me, Lisa?" "It's nothing. I just missed you so much that I snuck ahead to see you before the audience with His Majesty," he said. Seeing my anger, Julian didn't falter. Instead, a pleased smile spread across his face. "It's been half a year. Lisa, have you missed me?" He lowered his head as if to kiss me. I fought the impulse to slap him and scolded. "This is a sacred place, Julian. Control yourself. Clara will be back soon, and it would be improper for her to see this. She won't be back for a while." "Lisa, I've missed you terribly," he said. As he spoke, his hands grew impudent. In my past life, believing in our mutual affection, I would have been swept away. Now I felt nothing but revulsion. I immediately pushed his hands away. "If you misbehave again, I will call someone," I warned. Julian froze in shock. I knew it wasn't yet the time to sever ties, so I concealed my anger, feigning shyness to soothe him. "Julian, we're not betrothed yet. This is improper. If someone saw us, my reputation would be ruined," I said. Lowering my gaze, I cast him a coquettish look. Julian's body softened at my glance, his doubts vanishing as he hastily apologized. "So you're upset because I haven't given you an official status. My fault. Don't worry," he said. "At the victory celebration, I'll petition His Majesty to grant you to me in marriage in exchange for my military merit." His words were sincere and weighty. In my previous life, such declarations had moved me. For military success achieved at the edge of death demanded nothing else but to marry me. But this time I would not fall for him again. Feigning modesty, I lowered my head. "Julian, truly then? I shall await your imperial command," I said, speaking with the formal composure expected of a princess. "Then may I kiss you?" he asked. He leaned in, but I raised a hand to block his lips. "Julian, there's no need to rush. We have all the time in the world," I said. "Over the past 6 months, I have thought of you day and night and made a fragrance especially for you. Since you've returned early, you shall receive it ahead of time as a token of our commitment." I reached for my sleeve, then exclaimed, "Oh no, where did it go? It must have fallen in the carriage." "Julian, wait here in the inner room. I'll retrieve it," I said. Without a word, I pushed him into the inner chamber and hurried out. Everything was ready. We only needed the crucial moment to act. I concealed myself nearby. Before long, my handmaiden Pearl returned with Clara. "There's no one attending Her Highness." "I was worried," Pearl said. "It's fine, Miss Pearl. This is a sacred place. No one will intrude. Rest assured," Clara said. Pearl, anxious, strode ahead while Clara followed, her face filled with concern as she tried to stop her. Her voice rose as though warning someone. "No, I must see for myself," Pearl insisted. Pearl ignored her, opening the door. "Huh? Why is there no one? Where is Her Highness?" she said. The room was indeed empty. Clara breathed a sigh of relief. Perhaps the princess went to enjoy the scenery. "Miss Pearl, there's no need to fret," Clara said. "But if anything happens to Her Highness, who would be responsible? I must go find her." "Your Highness, where are you?" Pearl cried. Pearl hurriedly left. I couldn't help but chuckle quietly from my hiding spot. The little girl's act was surprisingly convincing. Once Pearl was gone, Julian could no longer contain himself and emerged from behind to grab Clara. "Good Clara, have you missed me?" he asked. Clara jumped in fright, her face paling. She nearly cried out for help, but Julian was quick. Without a word, he pressed his lips to hers, silencing everything. When Clara saw who it was, she no longer struggled, her delicate frame collapsing into Julian's arms. They kissed as if no one else existed, only realizing much later that the door was still open. "You fool! If the princess sees this, we'll both be finished," Clara said. "Relax. That mountain gate is far from here. She won't be back for some time. It's been so long since we've seen each other. Let me show you how much I've missed you," Julian said. Despite his words, he closed the door. They entangled themselves toward the inner chamber, unaware that this room, built by the temple for the royal family, held its own secret. An inner chamber connected to a hidden room allowed me to watch them clearly from the shadows. "Good Clara, once my father helps the second prince ascend, you will be my one and only lawful wife," Julian whispered. "I apologize for the hardships these days." "I do not mind, Julian. As long as you hold me in your heart, I am content," Clara replied. "Clara, you are truly wise. I shall make it up to you in the future," he said. Their whispered tenderness and indecent sounds carried vividly to my ears. I shivered, nails digging into my palms. That pair of scoundrels. I would make them suffer 100 times more than I did in my last life. The fragrance of incense drifted from the hidden room into the inner chamber. The people inside grew increasingly restless. Soon, the faint moans of a young woman echoed through the room. I restrained my anger and waited. The time was right. "Pearl, let's go see a little show," I said. "Yes, Your Highness," Pearl replied. I emerged from the hidden room with Pearl and moved toward the main door of the chamber. Bang! The door burst open. The moans inside abruptly ceased, replaced by terrified screams. What are you doing?" I asked. Clara, caught off guard, scrambled to wrap herself in a quilt, shrinking into herself. Julian, disheveled, tumbled toward me, trying to grab my sleeve. Lisa, let me explain." "It's not what you think," he pleaded. In an instant, he calculated the situation and shifted all blame onto Clara. "Let go of me. How could you commit such debauchery? How dare you betray me?" I trembled with rage, my eyes bloodshot, pointing at Julian. The embroidered incense pouch in my hand slipped to the floor. "Lisa, you know I love you. That's why I snuck into the city today just for you," Julian said. He picked up the pouch, clutching it tightly. "This is the token you gave me." "Very well, Lisa. You trust me?" he asked. "Take your filthy hands off. You dare call out the princess's name." Pearl snatched the pouch and slapped Julian's hands away. "Your Highness, these two have committed an obscene crime in a sacred Buddhist site. By law, they should be executed," Pearl said. "Mercy, Your Highness." Hearing the word execution, Clara abandoned all pretense, clutching the quilt as she fell to her knees. Julian, seeing her, suddenly lashed out with a vicious kick. Clara cried out in pain as he turned back to me with a desperate plea. "Your Highness, I was momentarily foolish. My heart belongs to you alone," he claimed. "It's all that wretch's doing. She seduced me. She tricked me with some drug, and that's why I committed this terrible act," he shrieked. "My heart is yours alone. Please judge fairly, Your Highness," Clara cried. The kick landed hard. Clara nearly lost consciousness. She collapsed on the floor, blood spilling from her mouth, staring in disbelief at the man who, moments ago, had whispered sweet words and sworn eternal love, now striking her while claiming she had seduced him. "You lie. It was you who forced yourself on me, tarnishing my honor. Please, Your Highness, do justice for me," Clara cried out. "A dog bites dog." The scene was perversely entertaining. I stifled laughter behind tears. "Clara, I always treated you as a sister, yet knowing what I share with Julian, you still acted so. What have you made of me?" I pointed at Clara, grief-stricken, unable to speak further. "What is all this noise?" Just as I feigned heartbreak, my backing arrived. A voice announced, "Long live the Grand Empress Seraphina." "Mother, what brings you here?" I wiped my tears and deliberately positioned myself between Grand Empress Seraphina and the kneeling Julian, pretending to shield him. "Step aside." The Grand Empress had already seen the disorder in the room and was enraged. "Julian is not in the army camp. How could he be here?" Do you know that leaving the army and coming to the capital is a grave crime? She asked. I know my fault, he said. Mother, Julian has bravely defeated the enemy and served the state. I beg you to spare him, I pleaded, cutting him off. Silence. Take the princess to another chamber to rest. Do not let these wretches taint her eyes, Grand Empress Seraphina ordered. My escort led me away. I eagerly followed but pretended reluctance, casting a few longing glances at Julian. Yes, I wanted him to believe he had fooled me. Even if Clara married him, he would never treat her kindly again in this life. As for Grand Empress Seraphina's punishment for them, I could guess the matter was settled. Both families held military power and execution was impossible. Likely a few scoldings, a slap of the board, some confinement, and perhaps a forced marriage. To truly destroy them would require uprooting both families entirely, not a simple task. I would plan patiently. Today, I was merely collecting a little interest on past debts. Once that was done, I didn't linger in the room. Disguised, I led Pearl to the temple's front courtyard. Another spectacle awaited today. At the courtyard, a woman clutched the sleeve of a man in fine clothing, shouting, Everyone judge fairly. The eldest son of the general's household is frivolous, yet he won't admit it. I come from a respectable family. How am I to live after this? The man tried to walk away, but the gathered crowd pressed around him. He turned sideways, shielding his face with a fan, clearly afraid of being recognized. What is going on, young lady? A kind-hearted bystander stepped forward to ask. With tearful eyes, the girl recounted how she had come to the temple to pray, only to be groped in the main hall, insisting that the culprit was none other than the Damien standing before them. You mean Damien? The eldest son of General Xenon? That notorious rake? That's him, someone asked. The girl sobbed and pointed directly at him. Immediately, the crowd erupted with indignation. I've long heard of Damien's debauchery, his endless pursuit of pleasure, but to behave so boldly before the Buddha, harassing a proper lady? Truly lawless. To commit such filth in broad daylight. Don't fear, young lady. We will report this to the authorities and see that this scoundrel is punished. Another yelled. Exactly. This Damien has shamed the Xenon household. Seize him for the magistrate. The crowd, whipped into a frenzy, clamored for justice. Princess, they're trying to ruin Damien's reputation completely. Haven't you already warned him? How could he fall into their trap? Pearl fretted. Be patient. Wait a little longer, I said. Having lived a past life, I knew Damien's rakishness was merely a facade. Once warned, he would not sit idly by. Sure enough, no sooner had I spoken than a man emerged from the crowd, fanning himself with a careless grin. Who dares send this lord to the magistrate? His gaze swept over the onlookers with amusement. None could mistake him, this was Damien. The crowd froze when they noticed he was dressed in the same luxurious silk as the woman had described. Their astonishment doubled. How can you be dressed exactly like that robe? One asked. Damien closed his fan, smirking playfully. Do I need to report my wardrobe to you? Besides, such fashion is all the rage in the capital. What do you provincial bumpkins know? He said. You. The onlookers were speechless. I, however, stifled a laugh. Damien's performance as a libertine was flawless. If I hadn't known his other side from my previous life, I might have been deceived myself. Hey, weren't you all clamoring to send me to the magistrate? Now you're all mute. Damien snapped his fan shut, taunting the crowd. Send you to the magistrate? When did we ever say that? An unfamiliar voice replied, bewildered. I clearly heard you say you wanted to arrest Damien of the Xenon household. Had you forgotten already? I said from the crowd. What? You're the real Damien? They gasped. Exactly, he nodded. All eyes then turned to the man whose sleeve the girl had been clutching. Who is he? Someone asked. He is the iron-faced judge, Sir Sebastian, junior minister of the Court of Justice. Another recognized him immediately. Sir Sebastian, sparing with words, confirmed it. The crowd collectively drew a sharp breath. Sir Sebastian is famous for shunning women. How could he harass a lady before the Buddha? This girl must be lying, someone murmured. Indeed. She accused the eldest son of the Xenon family without knowing his identity. Clearly, this was premeditated. Seize her and take her to the magistrate. The crowd finally realized they had been manipulated as pawns and were unwilling to relent. The girl, seeing Sir Sebastian's face, knew her scheme had failed and attempted to flee. Pearl, stop her. Lower her chin, I commanded. In our past life, this girl had bitten her tongue to frame Damien. This time she had to be kept alive. Pearl obeyed and pinned the girl to the ground. Clap, clap, clap. Impressive skill, miss. Thanks to you, she didn't get away. Damien praised Pearl warmly. Then, pointing to the flustered woman on the ground, he addressed Sir Sebastian bluntly. The matter of uncovering the mastermind is yours, Court of Justice, he said. Understood. Sir Sebastian remained expressionless and nodded. Two men in dark robes appeared, removing the girl from the scene. Before leaving, Sir Sebastian bowed to Pearl in thanks, still sparing with words. Damien shook his head, smiling at their formalities. What fools! They can't even thank the right person, he said. It was this lady who acted, wasn't it? And that little reminder was yours too, wasn't it? His fan tilted toward me. Tell me, why help me? What's your aim? Without warning, Damien appeared beside me, raising his fan. He pressed it like a blade against my throat. Though my veil concealed my expression, I sensed the danger clearly. Miss, Your Highness. Pearl moved to intervene, but I raised a hand to stop her. Damien, I mean no harm. I merely wish to discuss a collaboration, I said calmly, without a hint of fear. Collaboration? Collaborate with a rake like me? You must be mad. Or are you afraid? Ridiculous. Speak then your terms, he laughed. I had guessed how to provoke him, and indeed he took the bait. Marry me, I said. Marry you. He seemed to have heard the world's greatest joke. The fan pressed closer to my neck, almost biting into my flesh. Princess, do you not favor my war hero second brother? Why provoke me? Haven't you heard of my reputation? Damien's gaze pierced through my veil as if reading my innermost thoughts. I exhaled softly and leaned toward his ear, revealing my intent. Because our goal is the same. We want them dead, I whispered. The imperial decree for the arranged marriage will reach the Xenon household tomorrow. Please, young master, receive it properly, I added. With that, I brushed aside the fan and turned to leave. Faintly, a chuckle followed me. Interesting. The next day, 2 imperial marriage edicts arrived at the Xenon household. The eldest son, Damien, was to marry Princess Lisa, and the second son, Julian, was to wed Clara, the Minister of War's legitimate daughter. Both weddings were set 3 months hence. In an instant, the Xenon family's honor and favor were unmatched. Yet Julian remained unwilling to relent. Grand Empress Seraphina held a contingent of the Shadow Guard left by my father, which would one day be passed to me. In his previous life, Julian had exploited this very Shadow Guard to help the second prince orchestrate the Chained Gate Palace coup, wiping out his brothers and ascending the throne. Now, if he could not marry me, he would be denied access to the Shadow Guard, and he would never let it go so easily. Barely had the marriage edicts arrived before he hurriedly sent word to the palace, requesting a private meeting with me. Princess, shall we see him? Pearl asked. Yes, of course we shall, I replied. If I refused, how could I make Julian believe in my true feelings for him? However, I did not immediately agree. Instead, I had Pearl spread the false news that I had been confined by Grand Empress Seraphina, and could not leave the palace for the time being. 2 days later, I secretly disguised myself as a palace maid and slipped out to meet Julian at the Golden Lantern Pavilion, the premier tavern in the capital. In the private room, he said, Lisa, what happened at the temple that day? It wasn't what you saw. Please let me explain. Julian lunged forward the moment I entered, grasping my hand. Julian, you mustn't. I stepped back, evading him. You called me what? Julian, have you really grown so distant with me? You are to be my future brother-in-law. Mind your position, I said. Lisa, you clearly have feelings for me. He spoke not with doubt but with certainty. I lowered my gaze, feigning grievance. My mother had chosen a husband for me, intending it to be you. Yet you behaved with Clara in that manner. Now that the edicts are issued, you are my brother-in-law, and there is no possibility between us anymore, I said. I dabbed at my eyes with a handkerchief, pretending to cry. Julian fell for it and instead tried to comfort me. Lisa, my dearest Lisa. Knowing you have me in your heart delights me. That day it was all Clara seducing me, he claimed. Even so, how could Grand Empress Serafina betroth you to my worthless elder brother? Why don't you speak to her? Have her make you my wife. And that Clara? She deserves only to be a concubine, he ranted. You mustn't speak such nonsense. I raised the handkerchief to cover his mouth, glaring at him. How can you malign my mother like this? She only seeks to protect my reputation. Explain that. Before that day at the temple, who did not know my heart belonged to Julian? I pressed before he could reply. Yet you and my sister did that which broke my heart. The Grand Empress had no choice but to issue the marriage edict, fearing others might use your affair with me to tarnish my name, I said. She had to betroth me to your elder brother. Both are Xenon's sons, so it seemed proper in name alone. That was reason one, I continued. Reason two, it was also my choice. As a princess, I could never be a concubine. But if I could not spend my life with Julian, marriage to anyone else was the same. Marrying your elder brother at least allows me to see you every day, I said, casting him a shy, hesitant glance. My good Lisa, I never expected you would sacrifice so much for me, Julian said. That worthless elder brother of mine does not deserve you. Rest assured, we will be together. He pulled me into his arms, speaking with unshakable conviction. I knew that in this life their scheme to ruin Damien's reputation had failed, and they would soon devise another. You intend to deal with your elder brother. I feigned shock, softening in his embrace, letting my hand drift over his chest just to draw out his words. Lisa, since your heart is so devoted to me, I'll tell you a secret about my elder brother, he whispered. He spends his days in pleasure houses, addicted to women. He has long weakened his body and suffers from impotence. The household physician says his days may be numbered. I had not expected that in this second life they would even plot to kill Damien. A chill ran through me, but I forced a pleased expression. If he dies, then, I let out a little sigh. I can finally stay with you, Julian. But what of Clara? I asked. She only used cunning to claim the position of my wife. I will depose her, and you shall be my wife, he said. But this is ultimately against the order of human morality, I feigned concern. Fear not. When that person ascends the throne, who will dare speak? In his excitement, Julian revealed the deepest secret of his heart. I feigned not hearing and asked again. Julian, what did you say? Nothing at all, he said. Lisa, trust me, we will be together, he promised. Yes, I believe you, I murmured, concealing my hatred. In the last life he had cherished Clara, demoted me to concubine, even chained me in the backyard, tormenting me until my life was extinguished. This time, I would watch them destroy each other while I pacified Julian and learned his intentions. I sent word to Damien. Stay away from pleasure houses recently. Someone plans to end your life, I warned. Oh? How does the princess know so clearly? Are you in cahoots with them? Damien smiled, but his eyes remained cold. You don't trust me? I asked. How could I trust a woman who once adored my brother but now insists on marrying me? He replied. What if I told you I know the exact locations where your father and second brother are raising private troops for the second prince? I looked into Damien's eyes and saw a flicker of emotion, a brief pause in his expression, only to be replaced again by his usual cynical smile. Princess, surely you jest with such critical information. And instead of informing Grand Empress Serafina or His Majesty, you tell me a playboy? You flatter me too much, he said, mocking me. He did not believe me and even mocked me. But I was not angry. I had told him because I wanted to save him. If the Xenon family's treason were proven, their entire household would be annihilated. Under such circumstances, could anyone survive? Even the eldest son, uninvolved, could not escape. But if he revealed the conspiracy, putting justice above blood, he would live. I knew he had already been investigating the Xenon family's crimes but was stymied by the cunning father and son in the previous life. It was only after he helped the crown prince feign death and reclaimed the realm from the second prince that the Xenon family was completely destroyed. This time I would deliver them to their doom ahead of schedule. If you don't believe me, you can verify it yourself. I met Damien's gaze squarely. I told you I want them dead, just like you do. Very well. I'll take your word this once, he said. But if you deceive me, even if you are a princess, I have 1,000 ways to make you wish you were dead. Damien finally dropped his smile, cornering me against the wall, towering over me. His face was so close I could feel the heat of his breath on my cheek, his eyes fixed on mine, a storm gathering in their depths. Yet I felt no fear of him. I found myself intoxicated by those eyes. At last he shed his facade. Behind the rake's mask, he was like a leopard lying in wait in the darkness, poised to strike his prey at any moment. You will come back to thank me, I said. In truth, he must have harbored feelings for me too, but constrained by my past affection for Julian, he had never dared to reveal them. In my previous life he remained unmarried, quietly supporting me through the Xenon family's downfall, while I, blinded by misplaced emotions, failed to notice his devotion. This time I would not miss it. I could not resist and lightly touched his lashes. You? The instant I did, they fluttered, and he stepped back a half-pace, creating distance. I never imagined the princess would be so forward, he murmured. Upon closer inspection, his face was flushed. I laughed softly. Mutual, I suppose, I said. He snorted and swept his sleeve, leaving. I watched his retreating figure, completely absorbed. Who would have thought that the infamous Damien could be so easily teased? Truly entertaining. Soon our wedding day arrived. Before I boarded the bridal sedan, Grand Empress Seraphina summoned me. She placed a smooth white jade pendant into my hand and said, "This was your late father's talisman, the command seal of our dynasty's most loyal guards, the Shadow Guard, who answer to no one but their true master. Use it wisely." With a wave of her hand, 2 figures entered and immediately dropped to their knees before me. "Greetings, young mistress," they said in unison. "These 2 are among the finest of the Shadow Guard. They once served me. From this day forward they will serve you," Seraphina explained. My throat tightened and I could only whisper, "You may rise." Relief washed through me. These were the very guards who, in my past life, had died shielding me from Julian's ambush. They had never left me, even in death. Yet I thought of the dangers ahead. "Mother, allow Ivy to remain at your side," I urged. "The realm is chaotic. When I am away, knowing she protects you will ease my heart." The Grand Empress studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. Your foresight is wise. Your filial devotion brings me comfort." The bridal procession, 10 miles of red silk, stretched all the way to the general's residence. The princess's wedding was naturally an event of extraordinary grandeur. Both Grand Empress Seraphina and the Emperor ensured I was granted full honor. Seated in the sedan, I felt dazed. In my past life I had married the wrong man. This life I would finally wed the one who had literally dug a grave for me with his own hands. He now sat astride a magnificent steed, dressed in red, unparalleled as a gentleman. I peeked through the curtain only to meet his gaze. My heart seemed to leap out of my chest, and I quickly lowered the curtain to hide. "On your wedding day you were so bold before, but now even a glance is too daring?" Descending from the sedan, Damien squeezed my palm teasingly. I felt a surge of frustration. This man never forgot a slight. A few playful words days ago, and now he sought revenge. I raised my hand to pinch him back when he whispered suddenly, "Don't fuss. There's a show to see." Huh. My curiosity was instantly piqued. "Behave, dear wife. When you cry later, make it heartfelt," he said. With that, he squeezed my hand again, and then a scream echoed. "Young Master Damien is dead." On our wedding day, because the Xenon family had another wedding to arrange, his death was kept secret from the outside world. The eldest son had simply fallen ill and could not complete the ceremony. I was led into the bridal chamber by a guard standing in for the groom. That night, the red candles cast a dim glow. Damien lay with his eyes closed as I bent over him, weeping. "My dear, you cry beautifully," he murmured, nibbling gently at my ear. I froze, forgetting even to cry. This man had changed utterly after marriage. A shameless rake. I swung to strike him, but he shushed me. "They're here," he whispered. The one arriving was Julian, also newlywed. "So Lisa, he's dead? Aren't you happy?" Julian, reeking of wine, pushed open the door and rushed toward me. The estate was deserted due to Damien's death. Servants were either borrowed for tasks in the neighboring residence or shirking duties. Julian thus moved as if in an empty house. Julian, you finally came. I was only pretending. How could a bride not weep if her husband died? I sat up explaining. I see. Very thoughtful of you, Julian slurred, stumbling closer. He grabbed my arm and yanked me from Damien's side. Stay away from that corpse. Bad luck. Come, let me hold you, he said. No. Damien's wedding night is also yours tonight. You can't be reckless. I tried to push him away. Weren't you the one who called me here? Now you want to push me out? Why, Lisa? He said. Wait, there's something good I want to show you, I said. Indeed, I had sent a letter via my maid to bring him tonight. I retrieved the jade pendant from my bosom. What's this? Julian's eyes lit up with surprise, clearly guessing its significance. This belonged to my father for my protection, granting command over the Shadow Guard, I explained. Since we are to be together, I thought I'd entrust it to you tonight, I said. Really? Julian was overjoyed, almost unable to believe it. Of course it's true. What would a woman like me do with weapons and soldiers? Damien is a young general. It's far more fitting that you handle them. I feigned the bashful innocence of a love-struck girl and handed him the jade pendant. Julian snatched it up eagerly, examining it carefully before tucking it into his chest. Seeing his delight, I could only smirk coldly in my heart. The Shadow Guard recognized no jade pendant. They answered only to their master. Giving it to him was merely to make him feel he held power over them. He did not know that this would become the sharpest blade aimed at him. My dear sister-in-law, I will not fail you, Julian said, holding me close. Tonight, let me take good care of you. As for that Clara, she's no match for you, he whispered, growing increasingly lewd. Julian, take it easy, I murmured softly, playing along. Yet my fist, hidden in my sleeve, clenched tightly as I stole a glance at the dead Damien on the bed. A sudden flare of anger rose in me. He seemed so calm after all. Who was really watching the show? Bang! I was just thinking this when Julian suddenly collapsed. And the man who should have been lying dead, Damien, sprang up and kicked him. Where did he touch you just now? Here. Here. Or here. Damien's large hands roamed over me. I pushed him away with irritation. Why are you asking now? Weren't you enjoying yourself a moment ago? My lady, do not be angry. I apologize to you, he said. How do you intend to make amends? I glared at him. Of course. His handsome phoenix eyes arched, and he bent close, whispering in my ear. By giving myself to you. The red candlelight flickered, and the night's pale glow poured across the room. The next morning, I awoke on the soft couch beside Julian, deliberately letting him see the blood-stained handkerchief. Lisa, last night Julian's eyes were a mixture of shock and delight. I nodded shyly, though in my heart I cursed the dead man severely. Like a ravenous wolf, he had nearly broken my waist. My dear Lisa, rest assured I will never betray your heart, Julian promised. Unaware of the truth, he was utterly elated. He could not imagine that last night he had been drugged, and all the passionate acts were merely his delusions. Someone bring water. Now Julian was the sole legitimate son of the household. His word was law. Even after sleeping beside his sister-in-law, no servant dared interfere. His parents were more than pleased with me compared to a daughter of the Clara family. Naturally, they favored me, the princess with the backing of Grand Empress Serafina and the Emperor. After all, they still relied on me to extract favors from the Grand Empress for the second prince, paving the way for his eventual ascension. They could not afford to offend me. Thus, when I greeted them that morning, my radiant face pleased my mother-in-law so much that she gave me the family heirloom jade bracelet. On the way back to my room, I ran into a gray-faced Clara. Well, isn't this my elder sister-in-law, sleeping in the same room as my brother last night? Did you sleep well? She spat. Having spent the night alone and already scolded by my mother-in-law this morning, she was irritable, lashing out at me with barbed words. Whether I slept well is irrelevant, but I know my sister-in-law didn't. I deliberately struck a nerve, tugging slightly at my collar to reveal the red marks across my neck. As expected, Clara's face drained of color. You, what is this? She asked. Exactly what you imagined, I said, my eyes teasing. I shook the jade bracelet in my hand. This was given by my mother-in-law. It's said to be an heirloom of the Xenon family, reserved for the legitimate eldest daughter-in-law, I said. You're lying. How could she give this to you? I'm her true daughter-in-law. Clara's eyes were red with fury. If you don't believe it, so be it, I said and turned to leave. Then Pearl suddenly cried out, Princess! I was pushed forward and stumbled into a strong embrace. My husband! Second young master! Smack! A crisp slap landed on Clara's face, sending her sprawling to the ground. My husband, you hit me for her? She's your elder sister-in-law. This is incest rubbish. Clara cried. Clearly, you show disrespect to your elder sister-in-law. I was merely teaching you a lesson, Julian said coldly. Dare speak another word, and I'll divorce you. What? Clara's eyes widened in terror. It was she who first spoke insolently. She hurriedly defended herself. My sister-in-law, how dare you twist the truth? I wiped my tears, pretending weakness. Naturally, I had timed Julian's appearance to provoke Clara, intending for them to tear at each other. Julian obeyed me. I saw everything. Stop your excuses and apologize to your elder sister-in-law, or I'll really divorce you, he snarled. Being divorced on the second day of marriage would make Clara a laughingstock throughout the capital. My husband, have you forgotten the favors my father bestowed upon you? You would divorce me, yet fear no scorn from the world. In desperation, Clara invoked her father, the Minister of War. When Julian first joined the army, he had relied on her father's support, gaining recognition and backing to achieve his current status. Clara hoped to stir his pity with this debt. But I had already secretly spread rumors that Julian's military achievements were undeserved, obtained only through his father's and father-in-law's patronage. Prideful and ungrateful, Julian had already been displeased upon hearing the news days ago. Now, confronted by Clara, his face darkened instantly. Ignorant woman, back to your room at once. Do you want me to issue your divorce papers? He snapped. My husband. Clara, unable to defy him further, slunk away in submission. To feign weakness to separate the second young master and his wife, spreading rumors to provoke conflict between the families. I never knew my lady possessed such ruthless cunning. Just as I returned to my room, someone grabbed me into their arms. Feeling the cold intensity in his gaze, I knew he was angry again. He could never resist teasing me over my beauty trap with Julian, and after marriage, he brazenly demanded recompense. Already aware. Which hand held you? Merely a pretense. Left hand or right hand? Damien spoke while wreaking havoc on my composure, his strength seeming to threaten to tear me apart. In our courtyard, all were our allies. No one feared the noise spreading. My lady's cunning. I must admit, I rather like it. Huh. In a daze, I heard him whisper softly in my ear, but I was too exhausted and soon fell asleep. Over the next 2 days, Julian kept coming to my courtyard, thinking himself the nightly groom, unaware that the real benefit had gone to someone else entirely. My lady, tomorrow my body will be sent from the residence. You must take care of yourself while here, Damien said after a night of lingering passion. I leave May with you. He entrusted his personal maid to my care. You should go. Kai is waiting too. I tried to stop him. He had more pressing matters to attend to. News of the Xenon heir's untimely death had spread. His funeral was scheduled for the next day. The Crown Prince has discovered where their private troops are hidden and ordered me to lead forces to strike them, he said. This mission is dangerous. If I pressed my hand over his mouth, stopping him. You must return alive, I said. Nora? Nora was my childhood name, reserved only for those closest to me. Damien gazed at me for a long moment, then sighed. All right, I will return alive, he promised. He was gone for 2 months. During that time, I learned I was pregnant. Julian was overjoyed, believing the child in my womb was his, and treated me with even greater devotion. This allowed me to extract even more information from him. The Crown Prince had been ill but increasingly earned the Emperor's favor, overseeing the grand sacrificial rites and managing state affairs. The second prince and his faction were desperate, plotting rebellion, and all this unfolded earlier than it had in my previous life. Of course, Damien and I had deliberately nudged events along. As my pregnancy became visible, Julian, eager to marry me, would need to hasten the second prince's rise to the throne. The Ministry of Justice had gathered ample evidence against both families, and the second prince's faction recently submitted to the censorate. The crown prince's favor fueled the second prince's envy and haste in his treachery. Desperation always reveals mistakes. I lived in this residence, juggling Clara's schemes while secretly sending intelligence. Life was far from dull. One night, flames suddenly lit up the sky. I was awakened from sleep. May stood at my bedside. "Madam, the young master has commanded Kai and me to escort you out," she said. "He's back." I was overjoyed but asked anxiously, "What's happening in the residence?" "Rebels have attacked. The young master leads troops to defend." "You must leave immediately," she said. "Right." I understood instantly. I could not become his burden. Pulling on my cloak, I hurried outside. At the courtyard gate, I encountered Julian, distraught, murmuring, "He's not dead. He's back." Surprised at first, he quickly realized the truth and flew into a rage. "You've been colluding with him all along, haven't you? Now you're going after him," he shrieked. "And if I am?" I replied coldly, keeping my pace. May stayed close to protect me while Kai held his sword before Julian. "Kai, step aside. In the name of the Shadow Guard's master, I command you." Julian brandished the jade pendant, ordering Kai. But Kai's expression did not waver. "The Shadow Guard serves a master, not a pendant," he said. "What? You dare deceive me?" Julian was stunned, glaring at me. He smashed the jade pendant to the ground. The smooth white jade shattered instantly. "Tell me, when did you start scheming with that man? Speak," he demanded. "You tell me," I said coolly, unwilling to waste words. Suddenly, he snapped his fingers, and a group of black-clad men appeared behind him. "Did you think the Shadow Guard was all I could use? Today you shall not step a foot into the Xenon estate," he snarled. "Princess, you go first, my brothers, and I will handle this," Kai said. He whistled, and the Shadow Guard materialized like phantoms, engaging the black-clad men, but their numbers were overwhelming. Some Shadow Guard members were already dispatched to protect Damien and Grand Empress Seraphina. Gradually, our forces began to falter. "Lisa, you carry my child, and you won't be going anywhere," Julian said. "Who told you it's yours?" I shattered his fantasy. "What? Could it be Damien's child? You two betrayed me. I'll kill you, you wretch." Julian's eyes turned crimson. He snatched a longbow from one of the black-clad men and aimed at me. "Madam, watch out." The first arrow struck May's shoulder. The second followed, and as May moved to shield me again, I pulled her aside just in time. Was this truly a repeat of my past life? Was death inevitable? Whoosh. Arrows whistled through the air, but I felt no pain. Opening my eyes, I saw Julian fall, an arrow through his forehead, collapsing before me. "It's the young master. The prince consort has returned." With Damien's support, the Shadow Guard quickly defeated the black-clad men. The crowd cheered, but I heard nothing, only seeing the image of a blood-stained suit of armor beneath the archway. After what felt like an eternity, I finally heard a distant voice. "Lisa, I did not break my word. I have returned alive," Damien said. In the winter of the third year of Emperor Arthur's reign, the second prince's rebellion failed. He was executed at Chained Gate. At the Xenon general's residence, both generals implicated in the plot were executed, and the Xenon family was completely wiped out. The Minister of War, Lord Edward, was executed along with his 9 clans for embezzlement and treason. By contrast, Damien earned the title Marquis of Loyalty and Courage for his role in aiding the Crown Prince in quelling the rebellion. Winter passed into spring, and the peach blossoms bloomed. I stood beneath a tree, watching petals drift down. Suddenly, someone reached out and caught a petal, presenting it to me. "When the child is born, let's call her Little Peach Blossom," Damien said. I looked up to see him gazing at me tenderly. I took the petal and nodded. "Yes," I said. "This life we were both alive. How wonderful." If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and subscribe for more tales of revenge and romance. Thanks for watching.